Good morning, all. Welcome to today's session of Rework Career Conversation webinar. This session is jointly organized by Mendaki Club and Tertiary Career Conference, or better known as TCC. My name is Fauzi, and I'll be your moderator for today. Rework, formerly known as Graduate C, is Mendaki Club's flagship career convention. In view of the evolving COVID-19 situation, Rework 2020 is a year-long series of virtual workshops, clinics, and webinars to offer career-related support to graduating youths and young professionals looking to thrive at work. Tertiary Career Conference, TCC, is an independent non-profit initiative that encourages youths to live life with purpose and take charge of their career development journey. In today's webinar, we'll be focusing on the field of natural sciences, and the topic for today's discussion will be keeping up with the changing demands of the scientific research industry. Next. This will be the flow of the conversation for today. First up, we'll discuss about how the industry has shifted since COVID-19. Secondly, we'll talk about the emerging areas and the opportunities that has come up due to this pandemic. Third, we'll discuss about how we can adapt and stay nimble while we navigate this ever-changing and fast-paced industry. Lastly, we'll talk about the future, what will happen in the industry post-COVID-19. Joining us today, we have two esteemed panelists that will help us in understanding the industry better and hopefully give us some tips on how to navigate through this challenging field. Next. First up, we have Ms. Anis Abdul Karim. Ms. Anis graduated from NTU with a Bachelor of Science Honours in Chemistry and Biological Chemistry. She is currently the Assistant Head in Urban and Green Technology Office, ASTAR, that coordinates and guides R&D efforts in ASTAR to provide solutions to the public sector agencies, local enterprises, as Singapore transitions to a low-carbon economy. Prior to this, Ms. Anis was a researcher at Institute of Materials Research and Engineering, ASTAR, to create biodegradable hydrogels. Ms. Anis was also a technical lead in product development of skin health products in Johnson & Johnson, Singapore. Joining her today, we have Dr. Zulkarnain Harfuddin. Dr. Zul graduated with a Bachelor of Science Honours in Life Sciences. Subsequently, he further studied to take his PhD in Immunology from NUS Yong Yew Lin School of Medicine. He is currently a Senior Scientist in Chugai Pharma Body Research, or CBR. In Pharmacology Unit, he oversees preclinical drug R&D and project coordination. During his PhD and postdoc in NUS, He developed and characterized a novel form of cellular immunotherapy, which has advanced into phase 1 of clinical trials in Singapore. Thank you for joining us on this Saturday morning. How are you guys doing, Zul and Anis?
Alhamdulillah, thank you very much.
Good, Alhamdulillah,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, just to check, can you guys hear me loud and clear?
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So before we begin, some housekeeping rules. The audience is encouraged to ask questions at the end of the panel discussion through the chat function. We will try our best to answer all the questions, but we apologize in advance if we do not address your questions due to time constraints. Okay, without further ado, let's begin the panel discussion. So for the first question, can both of you tell me or tell us how do you guys get to the current role that you are in, and why did you choose the industry that you guys are in right now? Ladies first, can we start with Anis?
Sure. Thanks. Thanks, Fauzi. First of all, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us this Saturday morning. So maybe I just briefly just share what is my current role in ASTAR. Fauzi, as Fauzi shared earlier, I'm actually from the Urban and Green Technology Office in ASTAR. It's actually a program office that looks at coordinating all the R&D efforts towards urban solutions and sustainability. So you might ask, what is this urban solutions and sustainability? We have heard all these terms coming up, I guess in a lot of parliamentary speech and, solving the national agenda. So in essence, Singapore is actually an urban city, right? So we are modern and densely populated and highly industrialized. So we are much more vulnerable to changes in temperature and rising in sea level. So right now we are trying to think of how can we transform our economy. The whole of government is a whole Singapore effort, looking at how we can go towards low carbon economy. Okay, because we plan to have a net zero carbon dioxide emission in the next century. Okay, after the year 2050. So in ASTAR, we are a research performing agency. What that essentially means is that we have the capacity to contribute all R&D efforts in that front. Okay, how can we tackle the climate change issue? How does how does pollution affect us and our families? Because Singapore is essentially a small country, we are limited in natural resources. So what can we do to mitigate such challenges? Okay, so my role in Urban and Green Tech Office, and it's also something that I'm passionate about, is how can we as a convener, right, as a technology consultant in developing smart, sustainable solutions to offer these technologies to public sector agencies and even MNCs, local enterprises, as we transition towards this agenda of low carbon economy. So we collaborated with a lot of agencies and organizations like HDB, NEA, EMA, and also academia like NUS and NTU. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. How about you, Zu?
Yeah,
how do you end up in your role?
So I actually did my degree, my bachelor's in NUS. So I was passionate about this field actually only when I was in after the polytechnic. Then I realized that I was, wanting to go into this field of science. But at that point, I didn't really know what I wanted to be. Like really, I want to go to pharmaceutical companies, pharma sector, or do I want to go to the private or maybe the public sector? That wasn't. I wasn't too sure about what I was going to do. So I actually got interested in immunology, and I realized that drugs are something that we have to keep on generating new ones. Like for example, at this time of age, we have the COVID, so everybody's trying to rush for a new drug. So things like this, like the SARS, I was affected by that also during the SARS in 2001 or 2002. So this actually propelled me to actually wanting to actually continue and pursue myself in the field of science, and in particular in the immunology or the immunology sector. So I did my bachelor's in NUS, and then I pursued with a PhD also in NUS, whereby I actually with a group of other scientists, but I led the team to actually generate a new form of cell-derived therapy. So this is for a head and neck cancer. So he has undergone phase 1 in Singapore, and we are actually still going to pursue with that particular new form of therapy. But of course, now I've shifted. I've gone to the pharma company. So I'm currently in Chugai Pharma Body. So this company is part of the Roche group. So Roche is a very big pharma company based in Switzerland. But I'm in the Japanese side of it, which is the Chugai side of the Roche umbrella. So in this company, what I do basically is that I'm a senior scientist in the pharmacology field, and I generally my job is actually really to do basic science and try to progress it towards clinicals. So that's what my task is really all about in my current job scope. Yeah.
Okay. So just to delve deeper into how you guys got into the role that you guys went in. So Anis, just now you mentioned that you're already passionate about climate change and going like green technology and stuff like that. But when you graduated, you actually went into polymer-based research before you got into your current role. So before you graduated, did you see yourself in this current role, or did it like along the way that you saw yourself having this career?
I would say it's more of along the way. It's not immediate. I guess as we just started out, okay, maybe I just share my personal experience. When I just graduated, I was actually considering whether I want to go into research or whether I want to go into of a more operational role, like a supporting. So what I did was that I decided that okay, I want to go into more of planning of a strategic planning of R&D. It's not science, as it's not a technical role. So it's more of a supporting of what kind of directions should the R&D efforts be towards. Okay, so that's when I joined ASTAR. So it wasn't into research, right? So I did that for about a year, and that was on. I work with a lot of personal care companies actually. So you name it, like P&G, Johnson and Johnson, L'Oreal, and even flavors and fragrance houses. If like Simrise, Takasago, Givaudan. These are the companies that I work with. So it's more of working with those companies to say that, hey, ASTAR have technologies that can support you. Would you like to, collaborate in that sense? Okay. But then as I go deeper into that, I realized that I wanna actually hone my skills in research. So I actually joined an institute in ASTAR. It's called Institute of Materials Research and Engineering. So that's where I developed my expertise in polymer science. So I was a polymer chemist, and I developed hydrogels that are biodegradable that can be applied into personal care products. Meaning that can these hydrogels be sustainable, be biodegradable, that they can encapsulate the actives in this personal care products into a formulation, right? And then I realized that I should actually develop my technical skills in cosmetic science, because it's actually important to know all these terms. What is an emulsion, what does cosmetic stability actually means, and all that. So I actually did a specialized diploma in Singapore Poly for a year in cosmetic science, just to get a deeper understanding in terms of the technical aspect of cosmetics, the cosmetic science. And from there, actually, Johnson and Johnson contacted me and asked me to join the team in the skin health team, where I develop personal care products for the Asia Pacific region. Okay, so there I actually developed a lot of creams and emulsions and kind of like cosmetic products for Johnson and Johnson brand. But I realized that my passion is still in developing products that are sustainable, products that are going to be biodegradable in that sense. How can we support the green economy? And then that's where I realized that because I want to be passionate about in this area, I should actually switch and transition into something that can help develop all these R&D. Focus is already R&D efforts towards that. So that's where I actually joined ASTAR Urban and Green Technology Office. It's actually a newly built office. It actually started last year. Okay, and we, like I said earlier, we are thinking about how can we focus all the R&D efforts towards sustainability. So going back to your earlier question, like, is it something that started off when I was in school, when I was in undergrad? No, it's not. It's along the way, it progresses, it evolves. Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Zul? Because your path of research seems to be the path that everyone takes, like going up. Like instead of Ani, she went sideways.
Yep.
But for you, you went up all the way. So how did that journey go for you in taking your PhD and switching over to industry?
Yeah, I think as you mentioned, I went up, but it doesn't mean that up is the right way. I mean, you can also go on the side way, on the breadth. But why I decided to go towards this particular route? It's actually first and foremost, if you want to go inside the pharma, it's a little bit more difficult if you do not have a research degree, a dedicated research degree, because what I want to do is pure research with a twist. In my case, it's a twist in which I want it to be a drug. I want it to go towards the people. I want people to be able to be cured from certain ailments, for example. So in this field, it's a different way of negotiating it. You have to have some research background, and especially in this field, you need to have like a PhD in order for you to go into that level. Having said that, it doesn't mean that you can't progress if you don't have a PhD. There's also routes where you can have masters, but you need a longer time in a company, for example, to actually establish yourself. So for me, I went through this route because I was kind of, once I got into NUS after my undergrad, I knew I wanted to go towards the pharma industry. So alhamdulillah, I mean, it's not the easiest to get into the pharma industry because we don't have huge number of farmers in Singapore. And if we do have, for example, Lonza, these companies are more on the manufacturing side. I wanted to do more on the research side. So yeah, so I was thinking I need to be equipped with the right tools first. Yeah, so that's why I chose this particular route. Yeah.
Okay, again, so questions for the both of you as well. If, let's say, what advice would you give to a current graduate, like in this current climate, right? Let's say he doesn't know what he wants to do, whether he wants to research or he wants to do consulting or strategic planning, like in order to help him figure out what's the best way for his career.
Shall I start first then? Yeah, okay. I guess, right, what you can do if you're at the crossroads, for me personally, what I did is that you have to work in the lab. You have to work in the lab to see whether this is something that you want to do in the future, because being in the lab, you will then tend to see what are the skills that you need and whether this is something that you are interested in, right? Communicate with the people around you. Okay, understand what are the challenges that they have. Have a good mentor is actually important as well. Okay, having the right mentor is important. Okay, because the right mentor can actually provide, give you advice, give guidance to you. Okay, get feedback from them. If your strength is in the area of, say, you are very analytical and you like to do something that is very technical, hands-on. Is this something that you can pursue to do, for example, a master's or even a PhD? Because you can then deepen your technical skill, be an expert in that field. But if you feel like I don't think I need to do a PhD because I can help out in that strategic directions, be in the management field, for example. Talk to your mentor. Are there areas that you can develop in the skills? They can even networking is also very important in science, right? Talk to the right people. So that's some of the things that I can give an advice on. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree on that. Yeah, so I agree on that. So what I was thinking was, we need to. I mean, now a lot of this the graduates they have in universities, they have a lot of chance to take internship. Something that actually during my time we don't really have a lot. So I think nowadays more than 50% they have a chance to go for internship, and I think that you should go for it because it gives you a short snippet of what the industry, for example, whether it's public or whether it's in the private sector. What is it all about? Whether it's research, whether it's trying to organize management, they have internships in such roles. So I think if you have the opportunity, go for it, because it is only through experience, knowing what's happening on the ground, that is where you will really know whether you like it or you don't fancy it. A lot of the people who actually take the PhD, they say, I just do not know what to do. So I was thinking, why not just increase my knowledge in a particular field. But in the end, after 2-3 years, they said, this is not what I want to do. So jumping into a PhD is 4 years, at least 4 years of work. And if you don't like it halfway, it's not easy to just get out of it. And even if you do, you get nothing much. You're still left with no formal degree. So it is a risk if you do not know what you want to do. So I think internships, if you have the ability to take one, go for it. And as what Anis also mentioned, talk to people. Talk to people, not only your professors, not only to your friends, but go to, like, for example, ASTAR. They have once, I think in every August or something like that, they have some sort of seminar or something like that, where they actually they want what do you call this, the students to visit them, and then they'll have talks and everything. Talk to the people who are on the ground. It is the only way for you to really understand and try to assimilate yourself in the situation, so that you know whether this is the right field for you or not. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, just to delve into what you said just now, Zul. Let's say I'm a graduate. So
Mm.
is it advisable for me to, let's say, after I've worked like 4-5 years or maybe 3 to 2 years in the industry or wherever, and then I'm thinking about taking my PhD, is it too late to take your
No.
PhD then, or?
No. Definitely not. Even in my company, we recruit a lot of really freshly minted undergrads. So I just got a new individual who's going to work with me from next week onwards, and she's a fresh
Okay,
grad.
cool.
We have no
Okay.
problems with getting fresh grads. And one of the questions I like to ask during interviews is, do you intend to study further your studies? Because it is a gauge to show to. I'm asking this because it will help me gauge whether you have this mindset of trying to. Do you want to just work for a while and then go and pursue your studies, or something like that? So it is okay for you to actually touch upon formal work instead of a internship, and try, and then you see where it brings you. Because I know of some individuals who actually, after working for about 2 to 3 years, they said, okay, this is something what I like. I'm going to pursue something because I'm going to pursue my master's or my PhD because this is something which I'm really passionate about. And for me personally, I'm okay with that. If you think you are passionate about something, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. How about you, Anis? Have you ever thought of furthering your studies while you were going through the industry and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. When I was in ASTAR in the Institute of Materials Research Engineering, I did consider doing a PhD. But like I say, I talked to a lot of people who have done PhD, people who did not do PhD in a management level or senior level. Getting insights from them. Is it worth doing it? And going back to your own personal interest, I think doing PhD, I guess Zoe can say this as well. It takes a lot of dedication.
Mm.
You have to reflect upon a decision before you fully commit to it. you know, thoroughly evaluate all the career options, both in academia and even in the industry, because that might open up, your opportunities after you graduate. So if you're really genuinely passionate about that field, understanding in a deeper level, I guess going down vertically, I would say going down vertically, go ahead and do a PhD. But if you think that you just kind of like you mentioned, broaden it more horizontal aspect, that you can consider it, but that might think of other options as well, not doing PhD, which is what I did. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so moving on to the next segment of our discussion. So now we are currently in a pandemic. How has COVID-19 actually affected you personally, and how has it affected your work and industry as a whole? So can we start with you, Anis?
Sure. Well, okay. Personally, I actually work from home. I don't work in the lab, so I don't know
So
whether there's
lucky
a
of you.
pro. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I get cabin fever. I work from home every day. I don't see people at all. Everything is done virtually. But yeah, there's pros and cons to that, lah. But yeah. So going back to how this actually affects my current day-to-day role, even the industry, I guess, so in general. This COVID-19 situation, it shows how interconnected we are, how fast the virus actually spreads. So, and we have to think about the whole globally, the whole economy changes, right? I think the shift is more now towards automation, because when people are quarantined, countries close their borders, you know, there's a lot of things that a lot of sectors actually stop working temporarily. So in that sense, you don't have that manual labor. Everything is going towards automation. Everything is now in digital technology. Even right now, we are doing via Zoom, right? We are buying food by Grab Food, Food Panda, what have you, So the industry is shifting more towards, I guess, accelerating that digital transformation and adopting AI, okay, and cloud. So how can we, I guess the R&D is focusing more of how can we cope with the traffic surges and even the volatility and increasing demand of the digital side. Okay, so there's a lot of focus in that aspect. And there's also a certain aspect where, like I mentioned earlier, if countries close their borders, imagine what happened to us earlier. We have a shortage of food because a lot of food are being imported from other countries. So now the government is trying to think of how can we be self-reliant. How can we be self-sustainable? So there's a lot of R&D now in aquaculture, agriculture. If you read, currently there's a project or lab that did making their own food in the lab. There are food tech startups that develop edible food from cell culture technology. They make fake shrimp dumplings, lab grown milk. So these are some of the new upcoming technologies as we shift towards a post-COVID situation. Another aspect I can think of would be in construction. So we know that we have a lot of foreign workers that are being quarantined, and the construction sector actually stopped, right? So now we are thinking of, if this happens again, how can we keep the construction sector going, and it's affected to the minimal. So again, like I said just now, automation is the way to go. There's a lot of researchers doing precast technology. Now, precast technology is basically they will manufacture the building materials off-site, and then they will assemble it on-site. So this actually lowers the dependency on people, actually the manual labor, right? So HDB is actually working with ASTAR to develop these technologies to see how we can optimize the system, improve the safety and quality of materials. So if that's an area that you guys are interested in, I would say that go for that. That is definitely in demand right now. So the industry is completely shifting to that aspect. Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Zu?
Yeah. So COVID basically has not really affected me in terms of having to go to work, because once COVID came upon, there was this craze about, we need to find a drug, and my company was also involved. And my company was also involved because ASTAR had a particular antibody from SIGN, Singapore Immunology Network. They produced this antibody, and we are an antibody pharma. So they asked us for help. So we had to work doubly hard, but of course we had to manage the people. Not everybody's, wanting to go to work, 100%, because the fear of the virus is still there. So not only in how it affected how we manage our staff, also our people, right? We have to, be more of a people person at that point. Having said that, we also need to focus on the fact that we have we have to generate something for COVID. So we had to balance this. So this is something that the people management was something that, really strike to me, and suddenly that's something that we have to focus in, because we cannot have people who are not unhappy, and yet we are trying to force them to make a drug. So that's not going to work. So that is, I think, more on a personal self. But in terms of the work, yeah, it's been non-stop. We've been working towards getting a vaccine out. So in our hands, we have actually generated something. Can't say much first, but it's in the pipeline, and hopefully we can get it out quite soon. But as what Anis also mentioned, we have suddenly thought about what's really important in the field of pharmaceuticals. So as I actually, before this session started, I mentioned to you that it takes about 5, 6, 7 years for it to even go to clinical trials. That is too long for COVID, for infectious disease like what we have right now. So everybody, the government, everything is forcing us in a way, like, pushing us to actually get the drug out faster. How do we do that? We can't just stick on our know-hows right now. We cannot just work on our current technologies. We have to improve our technologies. How can we improve manufacturing? How can we ensure that safety can be maintained, if we're going to push something, a drug out quickly. So these are something that we have just thought about, thought upon, and we are trying to actually negotiate through on how we can actually propel drug discovery. And one of the methods, as what Anis mentioned, is really automation. So automation really helps a lot. So in our company also, we have actually we now have a new department mainly focusing on automation, on how can we screen for new drugs even quicker than what it was. Yeah. So in this case, in the industry itself, and we have also been more aware on the importance of public acceptance, because new drugs, safety risks. So we have to also handle the side of the stakeholders, our patients. So we are also trying to change the concept of how we do research in a way. So I think for the COVID drug, I think in one of those companies, I can't remember which company, I think in the US, a few conglomerate of different companies mentioned that they will actually, they actually inform the public on how we are going to assess safety. This has never been done in the pharma industry, because usually we will assess it internally and then we will inform them after the results are out. But now, because of COVID and the fear factor that stakeholders have, we change the way of how we design our trials. We inform the public first. How are we going to design? So all these, because of COVID, we have to digress away from the status quo and actually come up with new methodologies in terms of how to make drugs faster and safer. Yet we also have to think about the people aspect, how to gain the confidence from the individuals on the ground. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So sticking in line with the topic of automation and digitalization. So as a undergraduate that just graduated this year, is automation something that you have to fear or something that you have to embrace? Because it seems like robots, it sounds like robots are replacing human beings right now. So is it something that an undergraduate should fear, or should they equip themselves with other skills in order to stay relevant? What do you think about this, Anis?
Yeah, that's a very good question. There's a lot of talks if automation will replace actual human beings, human labor, right? But I think they go complementary. Okay, we need the manual labor to actually operate all these automation. They won't operate by themselves. And we need to always optimize the system to make it much more efficient. That need the people skills to do that. But at the same time, we need automation to actually help us, to improve the way how we work. For example, right now, like just now we say COVID situation where if people are quarantined, if the whole economy, the whole sector, every sector shuts down, then who's gonna actually operate all these systems, for us? So automation is actually very important, and this goes when we combine automation with, let's say, AI, for example, right? AI, artificial intelligence, you need the right people skills to actually work in this and develop it, and in the areas of essential services, so things like food, supply chains, logistics, you need people in this area. So I wouldn't say it's something that you should fear. You should embrace it. You should actually work complementary to it and how to improve on it. Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Zu?
So it definitely, automation is nothing to be feared upon. It seems to be very scary because it's the unknown in a way. It's like a robot, handling stuff that humans used to do, and we have that innate fear of machines taking over us. But let me assure that actually automation is actually in a way supporting us, not the other way around. They are not, controlling us. We need these automations because there are a lot of things that can be done actually, which is manual labor. For example, even for drug discovery, there's thousands of potential candidates, antibody candidates in my field that we can select. But it is not feasible for us to do everything using an individual. So we need to embrace automation. We have machines in the laboratory that basically we just put the drugs there and then they'll do everything for us. We need to have that. Number one is so that we can reduce the number of variabilities. Number two, it's also make things very, very much quicker for us, right? So in terms of trying to get a drug out faster, this really, really helps us, propel and accelerate. So automation is something where actually, I mean, innately, I also had a little bit of a fear of automation, but I know that it is essential. Automation, even for drug discovery, AI is very essential. How to sieve out, there's so many academic papers, how to sieve out the right data from the internet, how to select your antibody, your reagents, for example, your reagents to do your experiments. There are automatic methods in the online platform. Of course, some of them are you have to pay for them, but all these actually really accelerates your research. So it sounds scary, but we have to embrace. And if for those who wants to enter the field, I say embrace this, and if possible on the sidelines learn how to do like coding and everything. It can help, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So again, sticking with automation and AI. So as an undergraduate, I mean, you still have time to learn all of this and like to actually equip yourself with the necessary skills before you graduate. But for, let's say, for myself, like already working in the field, how do you actually prepare for this age of automation? Like, what are the things that maybe I should take note, should learn? Yeah. What are your thoughts on this?
I'll just go a quick one. I think Skills Future, it's something that we can really utilize. I just got a letter from Skills Future asking me to use it, and I've gone through the list. I said there's actually a lot of courses that I can take. Of course, you can get automation also inside that. So you don't need to dwell into the specifics, but you need to have an overview on what automation can do. From there, you can actually try to figure out on your, the courses can be very general, but it will help you to actually focus on what kind of tools can you actually use for your own field. So for example, you're talking about people who are actually working, working adults. There's no one size fits all, but you have to use your own initiative, having the tools, use your own initiative, and then from there, then you can actually try to design something for your own needs. For example, even not I'm not doing it, but I have a friend who's also in PUB actually trying to do some such things. What they do is that, the Telegram app, for example, they have a lot of incubators in the laboratory. They want to know the temperature because it's temperature sensitive. So they actually just tweak a little bit of the tool, and the temperature will inform them of the temperature by sending them Telegram messages.
Okay.
These are very small automation, but this is something that you will not be able to do if you do not have the initial fundamentals for it. So just go out and just learn it from like our Skills Future. I think that would be one way they can start with.
How about you, Alina?
Yeah,
Any story?
I totally agree with you. One of the platforms. I mean, in Singapore, there's a lot of government initiatives that support skills upgrading. You need to upgrade yourself, especially equip yourself with the skills of AI, digital. These are actually, I would say, basic foundation skills right now. You can have your own interest fields like in material science or chemistry or even therapeutics, genomics, but all these will need to work only if you know the basic um, digital platforms. Okay, so you need to have the skills. There are a lot of, like you say, if you go to skills future, that's one mode. You can also do part-time studies like what I did. So I went to Singapore Poly. There's a lot of polytechnics or even universities out there that do have courses that provides all these short-term courses, I would sort of call it, right? For you to equip yourself with all these skills. And these are actually very necessary skills for you to have. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so moving on to our next topic. So both of you, is it right to say that both of you are at like a managerial or supervisory position? Is it right to say that? Like there are people under you guys, lah, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
as a boss or as a supervisor, right? What kind of things that you look out for those that are working under you, like the good traits or the red flags, or like how do you sieve out the good candidates from the bad workers, like the good workers from the bad workers? What are the traits? Now we can start with you, Anis.
Yeah. Well, when I spoke to a lot of my the people that I work with, right, it's important to ask questions. You should not think that you know it all. Especially when you work in science, it's important to be ignorant. Actually, you have to be able to say, I don't understand this. How can I improve? Uh, what can I do to make it better? So ask questions like that. So I look for people who are willing to ask questions, because then that shows their dedication, that shows their willingness to actually improve. So these are actually, I would say, soft skills that you need to develop. Another important thing is I look at is how you communicate with the peers, people around you. Communication is key, especially when you work in science, where it's actually an interdisciplinary role. You don't work alone. Contrary to, I guess, a lot of stereotypes that scientists actually work in a lab in a fume hood and that's it. No, you don't. Okay, you can be good at, for example, developing sensor chips to detect a virus, but you might need to work with someone else, say the material scientists, to include these sensor chips into the material, say the mask, for example. Are these masks wearable for people, human beings? Are they comfortable? You look at the pore size, for example, the material. So, and then you also need to work with engineers, for example, chemical engineers to scale it up, or process engineers to scale up the process. So communication is key. I guess, asking questions. Okay, these are all the qualities that we look at. Yeah.
Okay.
Totally agree with her. I mean, for me personally, your degree is just a background, a basis. It does not define you whether you have first, second, third class. That's how I take it, because when I interview people, I just want to know how they communicate with me and how they interact, certain questions that they ask. No questions are stupid, because even for me, I will tell all my not my recruits, my colleagues, it doesn't really matter that that I'm supposed to be your boss, or if I have a PhD doesn't mean that I know everything, because it's impossible for me to know everything. So there are skills that I really look towards, like my colleagues. They have, for example, they do a lot of laboratory work and a lot of automation work, so they know better than me. I'm more the managing the project and everything, and of course I go to a laboratory, but usually I have to tag along people. They will have to teach me. So I need people in my team to not only look towards me for guidance. I need them to be able to actually communicate with me in both ways, because sometimes I need the help, right? For laboratory work, for example. So in this case, communication is something that I really look towards when I want to hire someone new for my team. And also, not only what Anis mentioned is the questions that they ask, because I don't want you to just, to just be spoon fed. I need you to trigger my brain also, and ask questions, because there are some things that I do not understand from your aspect. So I need you to tell me, so that we can have a two-way communication. So I personally do not really look at the degree. If you have a degree of life science, so be it. If you have a degree for bioengineering, so be it. What I want to know is that, will you be able to fit into the team, and will you be able and will you be motivated? It's hard to judge, of course, initially, but we can have a certain level of understanding on how motivated are you. Sometimes I'll ask questions. So like during this COVID period, what have you been doing, since you can't go out, or some people
Okay.
say, oh, I actually took some online courses. These are subtle things that I actually really appreciate, because it shows how much they actually want to propel themselves. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So for like as at a leadership role, right? When you guys climb up the ladder, like what are the things that you actually learn from your mentor or your leaders that you actually are practicing today, or like you like use it now as a leader yourself? What are some of the skills that you guys have learned? Anis, you can
Um,
start with you.
yeah, I guess when I when I work with, for example, interns, you need to have the skill as a mentor. You need to have the skill to help them upgrade themselves. They will definitely ask you questions like, um, how can I improve, or what will be my career path? What will be your advice? So you as a mentor, you should help them, give them the right advice. Because you work with them day to day. You know their strengths, and then you will know, they will know their interests. So then, in that sense, you can actually support them in terms of skills upgrading. It's important to help them succeed as well in their career as a mentor. You should help them improve on their skills, their soft skills, I would say. How they communicate with people, how they analyze things, how they, their day-to-day role. So basically, as a mentor, you should be able to support in that sense. You should not say that as the person who work under you, right? You should not say that the role is just to help you in your job. No, it's not. You should help them develop the skills, because that's what I learned from my mentors. I'm very lucky to have mentors that actually sit down with me and talk to me. What do you see yourself? Where do you see yourself in 3 years time? Where do you see yourself in 5 years time? How can I help you? These are actually very important skills to have as a mentor. Yeah.
How about you, Zu?
Yeah, so for me, what I've learned a lot from my mentors, actually, it's how things work. For me, because I'm in a pharma, how things work, how does the organization work? Because I work in a different kind of environment. I work in a Japanese companies, and there's always this, understanding that Japanese works this way. So, I was taught how to negotiate through, yeah, but of course, there's a balance between, following their system and our system. So yeah, so I had mentors also who helped me through assimilating myself, pulling the ropes for me, so that I can assimilate well into the company. And what I've learned is that, as a when I took my PhD, it was, just how to generate new new papers, for example. I didn't think about what the industry really needs. So having good mentors, so I had good mentors who actually told me what the industry requires. Right, you can't just think about the science; you have to think about the business aspect of it. Who's your stakeholders? Which patients do you want to target for? How are you gonna? You have to think in a context of the long run. 5 years later, how are we going to manufacture it? Do we have the tools to manufacture it upscale, for example? So I'm very fortunate also to have good mentors who guided me, and they are still guiding me, because this pharma field is a never-ending process of learning. So after 5-6 years, I'm still learning a lot from my mentors and my other colleagues. Yeah, so it is essential that we have a good mentor. But if we do not have a good mentor, doesn't mean that it's all done and out. We can always try to find other avenues. I believe in communicating with your colleagues, whether it's your same level or not. You can talk to them, see what's their perspective. So some people are blessed with good mentors, some are not, but you have to negotiate it one way or another, because in the real world, not everybody will be blessed, unfortunately, with people who will guide you. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Reality. Okay, still on the topic of mentors. How do you actually find a good mentor? Like, is it through networking or is it through your companies, your professors? Yeah, how do you actually find a good mentor?
Okay, for me, right, like I say I've been very fortunate. My mentors are all working in my companies so far. So in ASTAR, when I started working in the council level, which is the strategic decision level, I work directly under the executive director. So I guess I'm fortunate enough because he really focused on developing the people skills. You know, it's not about what's your background, whether do you have a degree or do you have a master's or a PhD. No, he focused on what people skills do you have and what are the areas you can improve on. So we have very regular talks. You know, how I can develop my skills there. So from there, when I just to share my experience, when I told him that where I see myself in 3 to 5 years time, at that point of time, I say I want to try and go into research and see whether this is something I want to pursue. Then he said, "Yeah, sure, I can network you with someone in the institute working on
Okay.
research." So I say, "Yeah, okay." So and then when I go into the research field, again, I'm actually very fortunate enough to have a mentor that believes in uh, upgrading my skills, because when I said that if I do not want to pursue a PhD with my current skills that I have, my strength that I have, what are the career paths that I can go into? You know, so he gave me options. But again, as a mentor, they just give us options. It's up to us to decide whether this is something that you want to go forward and pursue. One of the ways that he said that, oh, you can even do a PhD actually. He said that, then there are other ways that he said you don't have to do a PhD because um, you have the skills or to manage people and be have a strategic mindset. So maybe you can go into the management level, which is currently what I am now. So I guess in that sense, yeah, I'm very fortunate to have mentors like that. But my advice to people who currently don't have the good mentors right now, um, you can talk to other people around you. You know, even your senior level, your the senior scientist in your company, or even if you're undergrad right now, I'm sure you have supervisors. You know, talk to them. You know, it's okay to be inquisitive, like asking, how do you get there? How do you get where you are right now? You know, how can I be where you are? You know, stupid question. It's not stupid questions actually. So these kinds of very simple questions, you know, it can actually be very helpful for you, because I did ask that question to one of my mentors, like, how do you get where you are right now? You know, because I want to see whether I can achieve to that level, or is necessary for me to achieve to that level based on my interests and my capabilities. Yeah. So talk to more people. Yeah. If you don't have the right mentor right now, talk to more people around you. Yeah.
Okay. How
Yeah,
about you, Zul?
as an if you're still an undergrad or grad or something like that, I think the universities have a lot of platforms where you can actually speak to people. I think now everything's on Zoom, and even I think you can have they probably have those kind of departments. I know in NUS you have one department whereby you help you to propel yourself towards the working life. You can speak to those individuals, right? If you do not have a real mentor per se, they can actually show you the ropes on how you can actually what's your option, or whether you should continue your studies, or you can go directly into the workforce, you know and of course you yourself have to have the initiative. You can't just depend on a mentor is just part one, but you are the key driver actually. Some people don't have good mentors, but if you are driven one way or another, you will be able to succeed, inshallah. So when you don't have a good mentor, then you have to find the world is the internet is your world right now. You can find so many individuals. You can even drop an email to individuals, or some professors that you maybe want to just ask. Because if you do not drop, you don't take the initiative, you will not get the answer. If you drop the initiative, you have the initiative, you may or may not get the answer, but at least you try. You need to try, right? So you have to just voice out your concerns. find the right organization, the right people. NUS, NTU, all these universities, so they have groups, I think departments who actually focuses on getting their graduates out to the industry. They can help you. Yeah. With
Okay.
LinkedIn, the other
Mm.
thing is with LinkedIn, you can always drop people
Mm.
an email. Yeah,
That's true.
that's one way. Yeah.
Yeah, one other way is by joining us, joining
Yeah.
Rework Career Convention. Yeah, this is the best way to actually find a mentor. Shameless plug-in. Tertiary Career Conference also actually
Yeah.
like linked up a lot.
I
Of,
don't think it's
students.
shameless or whatever. It's just,
Yeah.
it is the way we have to do it
Mm.
because we do not work individually. We cannot
Mm.
propel whatever Anis does, whatever I do,
Mm.
we will not be able to do what we do without the people around us. So we need to
Exactly.
talk to them. Yeah.
Mm.
And only with talking, then you will know, what's your situation and you will
Mm.
be able to actually propel yourself.
Okay, thank you. So before we move on to the next segment, there seems to be a trend that you guys talk about when you guys talk about like undergraduates or those people under you. It's more focused towards the soft skills, but are the hard skills like technical skills, background knowledge, is that equally as important, or maybe you put a higher degree towards soft skills? Which one do you guys like want? Is it a balance? Like you can't find the perfect workers, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
how do you guys choose? Maybe you can start with you, Anis.
Yeah, you can't find the perfect balance.
Mm.
It's all about, it depends on the individual actually. Okay, if you are currently an intern, you're undergrad, you are currently working in a lab, and you just started out in your career, right? Definitely you need to have the basic knowledge, technical skills, right? At the same time, that also comes together with your ability to push yourself or motivate yourself to improve. Okay, and what are these? You might say, what areas should I improve? You should look at your technical skills. How will my current technical skills actually be developed further to help me further my career? At the same time, looking at skills like how can I improve my communication skills, to improve my networking, how can I communicate my science to other scientists? Like I said, I guess all what we have said earlier, right? Communication is actually key. You can do your science, you can develop your technical skills, but if you cannot communicate your science to the public, to the other scientists, then I guess your science will never go anywhere. You can't translate that technology into a higher level. So you need a balance of both. Yeah.
For me, I think I mentioned previously that I do look at the degree, but I say degree is just the baseline. I mean, if you're in the business field and it's something you want to come into the pharma industry, it's a little bit off. So that's, a little bit difficult. But if, let's say, I mentioned, if for me in pharmaceuticals, probably the life science degree would be the most appropriate. But you have a bioengineering, why not, right? The engineering part, right? Something that I do not know. It might be something to do with AI or something. You could come and then you could develop something new for us, So for me, the degree is, I would consider it a second tier. Most important is, can we communicate and talk to each other? Because as what Anis mentioned, if you have the knowledge, you are very good in science, you can create this, but without being able to converse and inform us or discuss with us, how can we propel this to the future, for example? So for me personally, communication skills are very important. The wants and your determination to continue upgrading, because nobody has the perfect skill sets. You can only but what I really like to endorse is, you may not have the skill sets, but if you're willing to learn the skill sets, you will be able to actually make it through your task. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to our last segment. So now we'll be talking about the future post-COVID world. So I guess this question will be more towards Zhu. Like now we are focusing more on vaccine research, diagnostics, all on COVID and infectious diseases. Do you see this trend going up after COVID, or will it dip
I think
after COVID? Yeah.
I think the awareness has been heightened because of COVID. The awareness that, you know, we have to be faster when it comes to infectious diseases, because infectious disease can happen today and it will just boom the next month, just like what COVID is. Perfect example. So the awareness would be there, you know, that we should also focus on how to hasten discovery or drug discovery for the infectious disease. Having said that, we cannot neglect the other diseases because,
Exactly.
you know, COVID is the so-called in trend right now, because the whole world is suffering because of this virus. But there are also a lot of individuals suffering from autoimmune diseases, from cancer. So we cannot neglect that. But at this immediate juncture, we have to actually try to shift our priorities towards the COVID situation. But yeah, in my company, for example, COVID is just one of many other projects that we're doing. And, you know, they're not really towards COVID, it's towards the other diseases. So the trend will be more of the awareness that we need to tweak the way we do research. That's how I feel. Yeah, tweak towards getting things done faster, you know, for especially for infectious disease that can happen every 5 to 10 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if I
Fine.
can
Can I
just,
just
yeah.
yeah?
So if
Can
I
I just
just add on to what Zul
yeah
said, right?
yeah
I really think that, you know, scientists are also at the front line of fighting this COVID-19. You say always healthcare workers, but scientists are also at the front line because um, the work that, for example, Zul did, right? They are racing. They are here to really race to develop faster diagnostic and, you know, screening tests and even a potential vaccine. So um, moving post COVID-19, you know, these are the kind of research that, especially in the world of, you know, therapeutic diagnostic, this is actually quite important. But in general, right, I feel like it's important to be nimble, to be adaptable to changes, especially in the uncertain times. Okay, so pandemic has definitely disrupted every aspect of life, right? So in science, in research, we need to reinvent, we need to relook and rethink of how our science can actually impact COVID-19 and how COVID-19 will impact our science. Okay. If I talk in other aspect, for example, as scientists, funding is important. Funding through research is important. If you're talking about companies right now all over the world, they are not willing to invest in R&D, a lot of R&D work. The reason being they are really focusing their resources more on how to remain afloat, you know, in the business. So they are not going to invest on R&D. So what about us? What about us researchers who wants to develop our R&D further? It depends on the government. So the government actually put in a lot of funding, pump a lot of money to help researchers, you know, actually fund all these R&D work, R&D projects. So at a higher level, I would say at the government level, they are doing their best. So like I said, like post COVID-19, we are looking forward towards government to help us in pushing our technologies, for, I would say, technology translation to industry adoption. Yeah.
Okay. So for the final question before we move on to the Q&A, there are already like a few questions here. How do you guys find meaning in your work? Like for Zul, let's say you're actually your specialization is in oncology, but in this kind of climate, everyone is talking about COVID. So how do you find meaning?
So my specialty is actually on autoimmune diseases, anything but cancer. But
okay,
but
sorry.
yeah, we don't. I'm not really. I don't do infectious disease actually. So COVID is under the infectious disease category. Yeah, how do I find motivation? There are always, I mean, what you see in the news, in the media, this is all talking about COVID. It's just I won't say it's not important, but you know, the media actually propels the situation to a degree that's very high, and it's in a way it neglects the other diseases. Yeah, but you know, I am in touch with people down at the ground with physicians, so we know the needs of people who are still suffering, not suffering from COVID, but suffering from any other from the other autoimmune diseases, for example. So you know, by understanding what's on the ground through the physicians, I still get very much motivated that, I have a pool of patients who hopefully one day, inshallah, we can develop something for them so that they can, be free from the ailments. Yeah. So I tend to actually shut from the hoo-ha of things, like everybody's talking about COVID. And I know that there's still a pool of people, of patients who still need help for out of COVID. So I try to just remain focused on what I need to do. Yeah.
How about you, Anis?
Yeah, I guess for me personally, right, my career mantra, I would say my mantra lah. It's more of like I want to create solutions that improve the lives of society. What solutions that may be, it varies, right? Because I'm not an expert in a certain field like Zul is, but I want to be able to use my skills, my operational, I guess my management level kind of like role, on how I can provide solutions, okay, that impact the society. And this, I guess, will be based on how you can build a credibility is based on experience for me personally, right? There's a lot more work need to be done in how we can actually improve our lives post-COVID, in the areas like I say climate change. Climate change won't be affected by COVID. It is an essential problem, meaning that it's always there. There's always need to be done, research need to be done in that aspect. Okay, so for my role, how I find meaning is that how can I use my skills to coordinate all these R&D efforts to solve this agenda? Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now I guess we'll move on to the Q&A. There are a few questions here. So let me just combine like because some of the questions are quite similar. So the first question will be to Dr. Zhu, what are some of the advantages of entering industry instead of staying academia? And let me just combine with the question, because some of the current demand in scientific R&D in SG is not as many as in other countries. How do you actually switch over to industry?
Yeah, so personally, why I left academia was because the impact would be different if you join the industry. Industry is way much faster. We have connection with bigger farmers, for example. And my vision was to, to see that what I do will get translated into something beneficial for the people, because something tangible, that's what I wanted to see. So I think advantages would be, as I mentioned, you can there's a higher likelihood that you'll be able to see your work being translated. Having said that, it doesn't mean that being in the academic side is not important. I mean, without the academics, we will not know certain pathways, drug discovery pathways, right? So it works hand in hand. But I would say the advantage of entering industry is that I will hopefully one day see what I've developed being a tangible outcome for patients. Yeah. And I think the other questions you mentioned was, how do we deal with the fact that there's less farmers in Singapore? Is that a question?
Less farmers are doing R&D in Singapore.
So as I mentioned, a lot of them are in Tuas right now doing, like, for example, Lonza is a very big company. They do a lot of QC manufacturing. Having said that, it doesn't mean that they don't do any R&D. They do some R&D, but the R&D is how to propel manufacturing to a higher level so that it can even be more cost saving, for example. So that is also research by itself. You have a lot of optimization and everything. My R&D is, if you're talking about my type of R&D, which is basic science, it is quite limited in Singapore, but we do have other companies like Merck, which is also based in Biopolis. We do have some basic science facilities, right? Chugai, for example, Merck. Yeah, and also actually ASTAR itself. Although you may not view them as really an industry, they are also not very academic actually. They are like in between. So like, for example, SIGN, as I mentioned, Singapore Immunology Network, their mindset is not to just generate academic papers, but they try to find farmers, for example, like I mentioned about the COVID, they actually contacted us in Chugai and asked whether we can collaborate. So yeah, it is. There's a lot of ways we can get into the industry, and there's actually a huge pop-up of biotechs in Singapore. So you have to search for this biotechs. There are quite a few actually in Biopolis itself. Yeah. So I won't say that there's no pharma or no biotechs in Singapore. You can find them. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question is actually it's not a question, but I think someone is trying to find a job at your company, Anis. So there's this PhD graduate. So I think after this session, will you be fine with sharing your LinkedIn or and stuff?
Yes,
with
of
us?
course.
Okay.
Akasha, right? Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Why not? Yes.
Okay.
Maybe I
So
can. Do you want me to just briefly, just share generally,
sure.
so everybody, if people who are interested, so I can also, you can reach me out via LinkedIn. So, like Akasha's research, right, in photocatalytic for hydrogen, this is very technical. Yes, this is an area or a key focus area in urban and green tech that we are looking at R&D. Definitely, there is space to do this. Right now, I guess the challenges involved in this would be how do we scale it up? It's currently at very low technology readiness level, meaning that it's now at lab scale. Okay. The question now is that if you want to implement it at a national level, we need to think of what sort of resources do we need, funding, the people, the companies are willing to invest, involve other agencies, other global companies worldwide if they have the expertise that can work with us. So these are some of the questions that we need to look at in this area. Akasha, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to link you up. And if you are looking at work or I guess roles in ASTAR, internship, for example, ASTAR does support a lot of internship programs. We have a talent development program office that look at how can we support the current talent and the interest from early career researchers lah. So we have, for example, the ASTAR corporate internship program that you can reach out to. So this is more focusing on diploma holders, even undergrads. If you are looking at working as a short-term internship program like 6 months, they do provide those platforms there. Yeah.
Okay. So there's another question talking about if you're in the research industry all your life, right? How do you jump out of the research industry? Like, is it even possible to actually go out of research once you are in research?
So that's a very good question, which I have not jumped out. I'm still in research, so I can't say
Hopefully
for
not.
sure. But what I've seen is that my technical skills can be used for a lot of other fields. Actually, our technical skills, for example, for me, understanding how things work, how graphs work. You can even go into the financial field. That's where I have friends who actually have a PhD in biology, in immunology. They're now doing financial investing sector. You think it's totally far-fetched, right? But he told me also that the skills that we learn, in science, how to analyze, because we have to be very detailed when we do science because we are always under scrutiny. The details that we learn can be transferable and is transferable actually in a lot of sectors that you think may not be linked, but actually these are skills that you have learned and they can actually somehow be used in different fields. So I've not left the industry, the research industry, and so far I'm really into this industry. I don't think I'll go anywhere else. Right now, you won't know what will happen in the future. Having said that, actually, I do a little bit of business myself with a friend, so a little bit of a sideline. And I use, because we're selling things, I'm not trying to promote the shop, but we sell Islamic stuff. And I use my own analytical skills that I have from science on how to look at patterns on the graph, sales and everything. So, you have to just, I didn't know I had that skill until I tried it, but I was thinking, how can I bring more customers to the shop, for example, right? What time do they always come? So this is out of the context of natural science, but what I'm trying to say is that it can be transferable. You'll be surprised how transferable our skills are. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, for next question is to Anis. There's this poly graduate talking about asking how would he improve his digital skills to help him excel in the science industry, and how can he get into ASTAR?
Yeah. So for maybe I just also give a little bit of background. I was a poly grad, so I graduated from Singapore Poly in chemical process technology.
Mm.
So what at a point where I got my diploma, I was thinking whether I want to enter the workforce or do I want to pursue an undergrad, do a
Mm.
degree. At that point of time, I decided to do a degree because I feel like I need to still develop my technical skills in depth. Okay, I want to be in a lab. I want to work in research. So in that sense, also need to think of whether your skills can actually whether the things that you want to do in the future, if you want to pursue a degree, is this going to help you propel your future career path? Okay, digital skills are also very important. Like I say, there are a lot, like just now you mentioned about a lot of courses that do that. You can also do internships. Like I see just now part-time internships. ASTAR, like I said earlier, you can. Is it Daniel that asked the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Daniel, you can again reach out to me. We have ASTA do support talent development, be it diploma holders or even undergrads in their internship programs. It depends on where is your career interest lies, because ASTA is actually a huge organization. We have vast research entities, working from the biomedical to the science and engineering, the chemicals. So yeah, so you can actually go through all these platforms.
Okay, thank you.
Actually,
Okay.
may I just add on that, because
Mm.
I'm also a biotech graduate from
Oh.
Singapore Poly. Actually, I was a Poly graduate. So during my time, we don't see. Yeah, Anis is also from Singapore Poly. So during our, I don't know about your time, but during my time, like in 2002, we did not have any follow up courses that you can take. I've heard nowadays that even polytechnics have all these courses that you can take. So one way is you can also take courses from your polytechnic. They will be I think they will have an array of courses which you can actually utilize in order to upgrade yourself to have all these new digital skills, and they're definitely going to be very helpful, and they will definitely be I don't know about being government funded, but the government is also driving us towards this digital field. So it's definitely going to be something useful for the future.
Okay, so for the last question, what kind of questions one should ask in a science networking event? And okay, how can they find a master? I guess it's already answered. So what kind of questions should they ask at a networking event?
I guess exactly what the questions you guys are asking right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are all the right questions to ask actually. I guess one way to actually look at, right, to know the right questions to ask, you I actually really believe in LinkedIn account, because LinkedIn account, right, you can actually follow all the researchers that are currently doing, especially in your areas of interest, like your field, right? You follow all these researchers. They have very good blogs, very good posts that they put on, and they share all the current and emerging trends. And then from there, you can actually see whether these are the things that you want to pursue or develop further. And then to ask the right questions to the right people. Networking, you can also do via LinkedIn, which is what I did. Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Zu?
So what kind of questions should you be asking? Yeah, I mean, all your questions are very valid. Even this question is a very, 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 very valid question. So how can you find a mentor? Actually, it's not just finding a mentor. You have to actually find a mentor. For me, I think is you need to know what's your interest first. Go to the right platform. Now all the platforms are online. You have to do it that way, right? Because of COVID. So this makes it even easier because you don't need to go physically to a place. So there's a lot of forums, for example. We can find people like in as what Annie said, LinkedIn, for example. You can just drop them a mail or just asking, what is can we just link up with each other? Fine, no problem with that. And then you have to be also very inquisitive and try to find out what is the trend of today's world, because drug discovery, for example, I'm always talking about drug discovery because it's something that I do. What was the trend a few years ago? Oh, protein work. What's the trend next year? Maybe it's gene therapy, you know. So you need to know what's happening in your field of interest. Therefore, you can find the right people to connect with. So it's for me, I feel it's you have to base on your interest first and then find those individuals in the field of your interest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go with the last question. It's actually going back to the start. What were the challenges that you guys faced at the start of your career? Any valuable advices?
Anis, I think your mic's off.
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, for me, right, when I just started out, like I said, I was at the crossroads whether I want to do research or I want to stay at a operational, I guess we call it a corporate role, you know. That was my main challenge. I was really in a dilemma. So what I did, like I mentioned, I talked to people both from the corporate level, from the corporate management side, as well as the scientists, the researchers. And then I evaluate from there and see whether this is something that I want to pursue for in the future, if this is going to help me forward. And then it goes back to our earlier discussion, right? It is not going to be something, your career right now, what you are doing right now, it's not going to be stay with you forever. You have to evolve, you have to upgrade. Initially when I started off as a researcher, I do not think that I will now be in a management or more of a strategic planning role. It will change, but you need to again go back to your interests, your career development. Where do you see yourself progressing? That's something that you need to think of from day one when you start off. Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Zul?
Yeah, so for me, I think mine is more straightforward. You know, as I mentioned, I knew what I wanted to embark on. Having said that, I was thinking, can I really embark on that? You know, because what I want may not be what I eventually get, right? So in, I had not much, alhamdulillah, I didn't had a lot of difficulties per se, right? Because I got into the right mentorship. I got into the right in a way I feel it's the right company. Yeah. So in terms of difficulties, not too much, but definitely I had difficulties in a way like how to assimilate myself into a new environment. Because for me, it's a cultural wise, it's a little bit different. The language was a little bit different. Not to say that they don't speak English; they speak English, but you know, it's different when you go into such a company. And how the industry works is totally different from how we were taught in school. You know, how even we were taught in university, or even how it was taught in during my PhD. I never knew that we have to think about intellectual property and everything. How do we deal upon all these? So I wouldn't say it's really a difficulty, but it was an eye opener. I didn't know that there are a lot of other things that we had to learn. So the level of new skills that I had to learn was really drastic within the first one year or so. And yeah, I think you just have to adapt and continue to pursue what you need to do in order to embark on your journey. And personally, I think know yourself, limit yourself. When you think it's a little bit too much, go and take a break. You know, it really helps. Don't go all the way and what Singaporeans would say, chong all the way, without taking a breather and reanalyzing what you're doing, because you need to reanalyze and re-motivate yourself sometimes. So that was basically my so-called difficulties, yeah, that I had.
Okay. Okay. I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for sharing with us your valuable advices and experience, Zul and Anis. For all those that didn't get their questions answered, you can always contact us via LinkedIn or get in touch with Mendaki Club. So we will be more than happy to help with you guys. I saw a question about diagnostics. but if you didn't have time to answer that, you can just answer, like, contact me via LinkedIn. I'll
Yeah,
be more than happy to.
you can also contact me through LinkedIn, no problem with that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So before we end, we'd like the participants to actually do a short survey via the QR code or the link. So the first 20 stand a chance to win grapefruit vouchers. So your lunch is settled for today, I guess. Yeah. So just scan your QR code and take a minute or two to actually do this survey. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much, Zul and Anis. We actually overshot by quite a bit, actually. So thank you for the very insightful conversation that we had. I really hope we stay in contact and actually keep this network lah. Because as you guys mentioned that having good mentors and like having great advisors from like people with experience, right, is very important to the graduates, especially in our community. So having something like this actually helps those undergraduates actually find the right path in their careers and life. Yeah, so thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us also, I guess.
Okay. So before we go, let's take a screenshot photo, I guess. Yeah. So who's taking the screenshot?
Yeah, I'm taking the screenshot. Okay, I want to smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay, hold on. Okay, one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Anis and Zul and Fauzi, for helping out. It's in like,
No worries.
this is like the first time we go online. So like, we really appreciate your effort and like, giving advice to the attendees, all that. Yeah. All right.
Thanks.
Okay.
Right.
See
Yeah.
you.
Thanks. Have a
Thank
good day.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.